Hey guys, it is Luke from DLM, and today I'm going to be talking about platforms. So this is part of my building series, where I just go through little kind of tips and tricks you can do. Why do I have an achievement? What? Okay, anyway, you can just do little tips and tricks, and that just help you build a little bit better. So platforms are one of the first things you get in the game, and I reckon they're one of the most versatile things you can use for building. So there are, I think, maybe 16 to 20 different types of platforms. The most commonly used one is obviously just regular wood platforms from normal wood that you find in forests. And what I'll do is I'll chuck up some photos and I'll run through some of my houses, and I'll just give some examples of some of the platforms I've used. So I guess there's windowsills, there's just regular platforms here which are abutted by chains. We got anvils and plants up here. I heckin' love plants on platforms. Anyway, so I'll chuck up some more photos of what you can do with platforms, and I'm just gonna do some really quick design tips and tricks on the kind of stuff you can do. So we're gonna start with this little house here. You can see it's pretty basic, it's pretty empty, and there's nothing really in it. So I haven't actually scripted this, so hopefully it does end up looking alright. But I'm gonna chuck down some patterns, and I'm gonna chuck down some platforms and just show you the kind of stuff I would do if I was building a house like this. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is add some windowsills. Now there are a few ways to do them, but really the most basic way is just exactly the way you'd expect. So let's make some wooden platforms, put them in put them in the bottom. I can't even do this properly. I think my sensitivity is weird on my mouse. Anyway, put these at the bottom exactly the way you would expect, and that's all you need to do. Now you can decorate these. I'll get into decorations a bit more later, but I think the general ones that everyone uses are kind of books and then maybe glasses. Books with that are always awesome to put on, but we're going to go a bit more in depth into the actual decorations you can use later. So what we're also going to try to do is do the opposite of a windowsill. So I guess that's called the roof of a windowsill, the window roof. I think my sensitivity is a bit whack. But a good tip for this is, because the blocks are at the top, you can either put them higher above like I have, and then hammer them down so they kind of match the top. That also does look very nice with the staircase. We're not going to do that right now, so you can just do that. Oops. You can just do that, which does look very nice. Then the issue with having half slab platforms is it means you can't actually place items on top of them, because it takes up the block space. So what we might try, and this maybe isn't the best idea for something like this where it's a bit of a smaller window, we can do something like that. You can see that it doesn't look too great just because there's not actually that much roof space. So I think we're going to move it back to the first one, which was having the half slabs, the half platforms, sorry. So 1, 2, 3. Alrighty, I'll hammer these back down again. Alrighty. And then let's do the same thing for the other side. Okay, the next thing we're going to do that I really like to do, I saw this online about a year ago and I've used it in all my builds since, is kind of make these hanging platform things. So you use some rope, that's probably enough, and that's too much, and then you chuck some platforms under it, and I think this looks absolutely awesome, especially if you put a chest or a platform on, a chest or a barrel on it. I actually have a chest on me, so I'm going to steal one from the build next to me. Please open. Like so. Let's take this. Jeez, my inventory is more than full. And you do that. I really like how that looks. Gives a real rustic vibe. Anyway, so you can do this with any item. You don't have to use platforms, and I have some examples in my other world which I'll show where I don't use platforms, except for the purposes of this platform-oriented video, we're using platforms. Okay guys, we're back. I did have to make the house a little bit bigger just to explain my next point. So the next point is using platforms as kind of a structural block. They're not often used as that. They're kind of used as something that exists within the structure and doesn't actually make up part of the structure. So everything we've used here kind of exists within the structure. Doesn't provide any kind of real world use is kind of the wrong word, but doing stuff like this, which I'm doing right now, it kind of makes the platforms look like support blocks. It's a really nice small detail. Instead of using, because it does make the shape of, I guess you can say, a triangle, instead of using a half slab triangle. This is kind of an intermediary between the two, where it looks like these blocks are providing a tiny bit more support than if nothing was there, but it doesn't clog up the room. It doesn't make the room smaller by using a full half block. So I've done this internally. You can also do it externally, which I do a bit more, just in places like that, where you can see it kind of seems like there's scaffolding or something under, scaffolding or an awning or something under the blocks that's keeping it afloat. What I'm going to do here is make it so you can actually run across there. Alright, the third thing we're going to talk about, or the fourth, jeez, I can't count today. The fourth thing we're going to talk about today is making bookshelves with shelves, or with platforms. This one is quite obvious, but I feel like it's not talked about as much as it should be, and it really is one of the best ways to fill up empty space in a build. I do this all the time. If there is an empty space I don't know what to do with, so I don't want to put a window there, or I don't want to put some crafting stations there, I'll pretty much just make a bookshelf. Now normally I will use a different background, I guess, for the bookshelf, so it kind of looks like it stands alone. So I think what we're going to actually do is use some stone, some stone here as a background instead of the other two core materials I'm using. Just make a background here. Now normally the predominant of this is made up with books. I don't actually have many other materials that you put on bookshelves on me. Let's just put a rope there. Again, I will be getting into what you can actually put on bookshelves and what looks good on bookshelves later, but for now let's just pretend this looks good. I'm going to put a torch in there just because I don't have much light in the room. I'm also out of books. So that's the fourth thing to just to do with shelves. Alright, so the next one we're going to do is a spiral staircase. Now these didn't used to be so common back when I started playing Terraria. I think most people do know how to kind of do this kind of spiral staircase design, but I think I'm going to go over it because this is a really good thing you can always do with what are these called, with platforms, and they do deserve to be used a lot because they are really, really sick. So the point of this is trying to give off the illusion of a spiral staircase. So obviously, let's just say it starts on the left, then it goes one, and the second one is technically behind there. So going up one more, the second one is still technically behind there. And then we point out there, two there, one there. We'll actually get rid of this because otherwise it kind of breaks the illusion of the spiral. And now this is where you got to do something a little bit different. Because this is meant to be in front, you do, oops, I'm completely out of platforms. Because this is technically meant to be in front, you do that, and then you do that, and then you do that. So now it looks like that the staircase is spiraling around. What do you know? Spiraling around the central wooden beam, and I think it gives us a really cool effect. It works really well on a bit larger builds, so I had to add two floors to this. I'm aware that this building by itself isn't the greatest design, but I'm gonna make it on the fly. So a good workaround for this kind of thing, because the beam still should look like it is in the center, is grab shade wood wall painted brown. I will actually grab some from my other world. I'll grab some from my other world and I'll kind of just explain why that's the best thing to do in this situation. Alright, so I'm back. I've got my ebon wood. Turns out it's ebon wood, and I'm going to show you why ebon wood really is what you need to get the best effect for this kind of design. So ebon wood, when painted brown and surrounded by other blocks, looks a lot like a wooden beam, but you can place other items in front of it. Now this is Now this kind of continues my whole fetishization of brown paint, because brown paint's fucking sick. But you won't get as good as an effect if you're not using brown paint. So again, if I covered this ebon wood on both sides, you can't even really tell that that's not a wooden beam, but you do get the effect of this really cool spiral staircase. So let's surround this. I'll background all this up, and then hopefully you can see the final effect. So my audio cut out here for no known reason, but I'll just really quickly go over what what my narrating missed. So I really quickly talked about how in the top right corner of the top level, I kind of did a shelf variant, which was only one block wide, and I just used bottles, glasses, and pale ale jugs on top of it. I think it looks really cool. Then I really quickly talk about how you can actually use platforms for more than one type of structural variety. So you can see under the entire flooring of the 4th floor, there is platforms, and then they're also used on the windowsills and kind of to give an impression of extra support on the support beam on the left. So let's get back into the string of. Alrighty, so you might have noticed that there's a tier list here, and it's a bit of a meme, but there's a little bit of truth in this meme. So this is the tier list for what's good to put on your platforms. The real truth comes from the S tiers: books, bottles, and clay pots. Books, there's so many sprites to them, so no matter how many you put next to each other, it's always going to look like there's some variation. Same thing with plants, and once they grow, it looks really, really cool. And bottles, a little bit trickier, but when you paint them, you can make them look like so many different bottles that have different liquids in them. You can make a whole alchemy lab just with them, and again, they're all super easy to make. B tiers, I mean the A tiers, not so much. They're still all super cool. Clay vase, crates, butterfly jars are sick because they're animated, which is fresh. Chests, a lot more chest storage space if you put them on platforms. Candles, light source, anvils. I don't know why I just put anvils there. Really, all crafting benches and beds. You can make bunk beds. A and below is really just everything else, except I kind of got bored and I didn't want to get every single item intro on this list. Really, you should be able to find, or you will end up finding, a opportunity where you can kind of put anything on a platform. Like myself, I sometimes just put rope there because that's all I've got in my inventory. I think I did it earlier in this video, and rope's probably the worst looking thing to put on a platform. If I put that in this list, it'll probably be like F, but it still looks great. Honorable mentions are that everyone forgets that you can actually put on platforms are gold, silver, and bronze coins, and platinum if you're that baller. But yeah, gold, silver, and bronze coins look sick. Really cool aesthetic, and gold, silver, just any bars, because you can actually stack them now, and they always look super cool. Anyway, so in the background, I'm just giving a little brief rundown of a bunch of places in which I've used platforms and shelves in my builds, and hopefully they're kind of just sparking your creativity. So I'll let them run for a little bit longer while I'm talking, and then I guess we'll end the video. So I guess this whole video is just kind of give you guys more ideas for what you can actually do with platforms. There's so many things, and if you've been paying attention, I'm really only using wooden platforms and maybe glass platforms in some of my examples, and a few wooden shelves, which are actually different to get them from the dungeon. But anyway, what I'm saying is there are so many things you can do with them, and this is just really the really small things you can do with them. If you look at some of my other videos, I make whole rope bridges with like 4 types of platforms, and I'm sure there's so many things you can do with them that are a little bit more advanced. This is really the basic bare bones beginner stuff. Anyway, I guess that is all I have to say. I really hope you guys like this video. Stick around for more content. Still didn't have an intro because I got copyright striked, but have a good one, guys.